Welcome to the Beauties podcast, where we talk about everything you need to know about women's sports. From the grassroots to the pros, we got it all. Today on the show, we talk about Serena Williams' retirement, Sylvia Fowles' final game, and start punching her LPGA ticket. Here are your hosts, Addie and Cowie.
Welcome to the Beauty Sports Desk, everybody. This week, hope you are having a beautiful time, relaxing wherever you are. The weather has been great here, and we have more retirements to talk about today. But Cowie, before we get into all that, how are you doing, buddy?
I am living my best life, my friend. You brought me a tea today in my chilly air-conditioned basement.
Yes.
I golfed today, and my golf game was less good. But life is good. When you get to go for a round of golf on a Sunday and then join one of your best friends sitting here, you can't complain.
How
are you? How's your weekend?
I'm super jealous of you. This weekend was jam-packed. We were at the beach, at a buddy's pool, living it up. Harry has got
Sounds
a
stressful.
crazy tan going on right now. It's awesome. And we realized that he didn't take after any of us when it came to that. I go right lobster. I go from white to lobster. He's got this beautiful tan going on, so I was like looking at him like, are you kidding?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
I'm the same way. I am. It's so funny. I was actually showing Ash. I was doing the I'm kind of, this doesn't look tan. For those of you listening, I'm showing Eddie my arm. It doesn't look tan, but compared to this side, it is tan.
Yeah. Weird to think about tanning under a tattoo. I'd never really thought about that before.
I know.
Cowie was rocking a sleeve here, so it's like you got to look for the skin under it.
It's whiter on the bottom side.
It is.
I'm the same as you. I burn, and then I just kind of go back to a slightly less shade of white.
Yeah,
until winter
SPF
comes.
50 for this gal.
Oh, baby.
Ooh,
And,
lather it.
6 times a day when it's sunny.
I remember I went to Cuba and I was like, whoo, this is going to be, got to set a timer for this one because I will fry out here.
Honestly. And it's when you're in places like that, like we went to the lake last weekend. We were in the lake this weekend. And that's the thing. You get out of the pool or you get out of the lake, instant. But you know what I always forget? Ears, face. Fry them.
Oh, gone.
Fry them.
Fry them up. Fry them up there because they gone.
Yeah. My bathing suit this time had a hole like on the stomach.
Oh, yeah.
And so, did my chest, did my arms, whatever. And then I got it in the shower and I was like, why is my stomach burning? Looked down and I just got this perfect oval right on my stomach. Red.
God. That's fantastic.
Yeah, so I always forget somewhere.
That's fantastic. It's like when your buddies fall asleep on the beach and you put a random object on their back.
Or you do the handprint and then sunscreen around your hand. So they just got the 5-star.
The best.
Yeah.
No one's going to be falling asleep on the beach around us because that's the first thing I think of.
I know, right?
How do we screw around with their tan?
Yeah, set your sunglasses on their back.
That's right. And one of the cool things, was this weekend, it was great because it was just such a family weekend, which is so great. But one of the things that is so exciting is everywhere I go, somebody talks to me about the podcast.
Yeah, same. Isn't that fun? Or has suggestions or ask questions or whatever.
Did you know this was going on?
Yep.
I loved what you guys said about this. I think you guys should do this. And it's encouraging, and you need those kinds of things to continue happening because it's like, okay, people are resonating with what we're saying. They are getting to the points that we're trying to get across and even, debating them, which is cool.
Yeah, that's the whole point.
That's the whole point of it, right? So one of the things that was brought up, which I thought would be really cool for us to touch on today, is because we are getting into in a podcast, I re-listened to a couple in the beginning. We cover a lot of topics.
Yeah, we tend to, there's a lot. It's jammed.
Yeah, we fly from one thing to the next to the next. And so one of the things that was brought up was we don't know what you're talking about sometimes. Just gibberish.
Yeah, I've heard it too. And we have talked about that, when the mics are off. And I think, appreciate that you all continue to listen, even if there are things that you don't know what the heck we're talking about.
Yes.
Whether you're here because you like listening to Addie and I, or if you want to learn more, whatever the case may be, thank you for being here.
Yeah.
But that is one of the important parts, is that and that's why we try to mix it up. We try to have interviews. We've got plans to do more things with Beers with Beauties, trying to, talk to more people. But as we continue to work on developing Beauties, we have to continue to show what the paths are for all our little nuggets out there who are chasing whatever sport they love. And so, there are going to be times where people maybe don't know what we're talking about.
Yeah. And I think that's one of and to go off of what you were just saying too, like people sticking with us through these conversations, even if you don't know to the extent of what we're talking about, because this podcast, it's 45 minutes a week, but it's our whole week.
Yeah.
Right? We're watching sports all the time, making sure we stay up to date with what's going on. And we totally understand that not the average person would do that, right? So you come here to, learn about what's going on with female athletics. And I think that's one of the things we mentioned about a long time ago is this is the bridge. We're trying to build up this bridge here so that when, your daughter or somebody asks you about, where can you go in soccer, or you have understandings of the NWSL, and that it's huge.
Enormous.
And every single young female soccer player in the world should be pursuing professional women's soccer, because there are options like crazy through the roof. And not only that, it's like these women are living huge lives through soccer. And so that was one of the cool conversations, and I thought would be really cool for us to touch on, is just this conversation of like, there still is a lot of room for growth when it comes to women's pro sports.
Well, and I think, yes, 100% I agree with you. And I also think the message to everyone listening is that we constantly learn.
Yeah.
If you think that Addie and I just know all this stuff off the top of our heads, no, we invest a lot of time throughout the week to try to watch and follow as much as we can so that we can bring it to this platform and continue to shed light and be the bridge of information. But like we talked about with the Commonwealth Games, I sent you a video. I watched a game on CBC Gem of athletes representing their countries at the highest level and had never seen the game before in my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the cool part, is that we get to continue to learn about all of the things that exist in the world, and then try to bring that as an opportunity for people to, because that's the whole point, whether you're 4 or 44 or 94, that you find a place in sports, whether that being a fan or a grandpa or grandma or uncle or aunt or friend or whatever that is, pursuing it yourself, playing beer league, don't care, but finding, passion in sport, regardless of what that is. Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. And like netball is what, netball, even if you do netball, and there was another sport that we were actually still researching because I sent it to Cowie and we still have no idea what it is, but that it's fun, it's exciting, and the impact, and this is the one thing that is super passionate for us, is that there's a lot of, I would say, confusion in the youth levels of sport, because we talked about this before. There are a lot of old narratives. Yes. There are a lot of old narratives that we are still trying to combat against when it comes to talking to young female athletes. So if you listen to our show and maybe you don't 100% know exactly the conversation that we're going off of, but you can speak to, a little bit more about what's going on with the WNBA and why it's exciting, and, who's being drafted and stuff. If a young girl hears that about a girl being drafted into the WNBA, think about what her thought process is now.
Yes, that's right.
Think about what she is looking forward to. Oh, well, about somebody that's playing professional basketball and that's what she does for a living. Like, we're going to be talking a lot, like, well, WNBA is just absolutely firing on all cylinders right now. It's unbelievable. But that conversation just goes to show that we may not be where we want to be yet when it comes to the knowledge and understanding of women's sports. But even if you have one little interaction with a young girl, whether it's hockey, doesn't matter the sport.
Yeah.
But you have knowledge of somebody that's doing it at the higher level and pursuing it. You having that little bit of knowledge literally changes the course for that young female athlete.
Very, very true. Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
So I love the conversations we are having with people right now and the fact that we are striking a chord with people in a lot of different ways. And I absolutely love it. And just like Cowie said before, and we will repeat 1,000 times, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of this.
Yeah, because what we're starting to see, which has been very fun for Addie and I, we're approaching episode 40. And we have a lot of you are very loyal listeners, which we so appreciate. And we're starting to see the comfort of being a loyal listener come through, where we're having more interactions and more conversations on a regular basis with those of you who are listening and have thoughts, you know, things that you've seen or where your child is or a lived experience that you had. And that's been very, very fun. So continue to do that. If you don't already, find us on Instagram at Beauty Sports Talk. That's the best place to connect with us. You can find us on TikTok with that same at Beauty Sports Talk, on Twitter at _Beauty Sports. But find a way. You can also find Addie and I, Addie Miles Abbott or Cowie14 on Instagram. But connect with us because that has been a really positive shift we've seen in the last couple months here of people who are listening every week and reaching out.
So cool. So cool. I absolutely love it. So even if we're looking at, you know, ties for us, because one of the things that we made a way bigger conscious effort of this year was actually watching soccer.
Yeah.
The NWSL. And they had 2 expansion teams this year. Huge year in the NWSL. But not only that, also in the Premier League with sold out stadiums.
Yeah.
Huge. But our local, Desiree Scott, is a beauty and has reached a milestone of playing 10,000 minutes in the NWSL.
That's a lot.
And oh my God, like if you look at her career, bronze medal, gold medal, 10,000 minutes in the NWSL, which has only been reached by, I think it said, well, she's the second Canadian to reach it, which I'm assuming the other one is Christine Sinclair, right? You'd assume that it would be her. It's a milestone that a lot of people don't reach. She blew up over social media because everybody was like, this is insane. And so for our local shout out of the day, even though she doesn't live here and she plays in Kansas City, Desiree Scott, you are a beauty, man.
Certified beauty. Stamp on it. Yeah, she's such an advocate of this city that she basically lives here even if she doesn't live here.
That's right.
I just did the math, pulled out my calculator. 10,000 minutes divided by a 90-minute soccer game. That's 111.11 games.
She just never stops.
That's a lot.
That's a ton of soccer. And that's only within her NWSL career.
Yeah.
That's not including any other games played on an international stage, the Olympic stage.
10,000 minutes.
That is only NWSL.
Wow.
She good.
She good.
She good.
We got to get her on the pod someday.
Oh,
she good.
Absolutely. And, you know, there has been a little bit of talk in the NWSL. Gotham, who was the talk of the town, bringing all those recruits in, Ashlyn Harris, a bunch of huge names coming in, have parted ways with their coach.
Yep.
With not performing as well. They've ended up, as of right now, they're 11th in the standings out of 12 teams. And essentially, they just said, thank you so much for your time and your enthusiasm and your hard work. We're just moving on. And we talked about this before because it was a huge deal. Gotham was projected to take over this year with the people that they were bringing in. And I think that this is a really big move on ownership in the NWSL, and it speaks a lot because at the end of the day, he just wasn't doing good enough. And they just said no more, and they moved on, which in my opinion is a very good sign for women's soccer because it's go time. They are trying to get their franchise a championship, and he was not going to get it done. So they got to move on.
Exactly. It speaks to the health of that league.
Yeah.
Right. We saw last year was very tumultuous in how many people exited for very much the wrong reasons.
Right.
Not wrong reasons as in they got gone for the wrong reasons, but they needed to get gone for awful reasons. And we've seen kind of a refresh in the NWSL this year with the 2 expansion teams as well. And there was lots of shifts that happened in the off season. And it just really speaks to the health of that league and that they have a standard. And if you don't live up to it, just like we see in most of the sports that we've historically got to see, which are male, that if you don't live up to that, then we're at a point now where we're going to let you go because, we have a standard and we're chasing a championship and we need change. So,
that's it. Where, you hear about other, women's sports where people are coaching there for so long there is an element, and I like how you use the word health of the league because the intensity, and I don't want to go say cutthroat, but the intensity piece of it is that no chance. We are here to compete. Yeah. We have brought in women that have proven themselves on an international stage. We've brought in Olympic gold medalists, and we're 11th.
Yeah.
No chance.
Yeah.
Sorry, we got to move on. Yeah. And especially with them going from Freya Combe, who was their head coach last year, who left their organization to go to Angel City, and Angel City has been fire, which we in the beginning of the year didn't know how that was going to go because a new franchise and all, and they weren't doing so hot at the beginning of the year either.
Yeah, very true.
So it's like they've turned it around, but that whole conversation around, he's a great guy. All's good. Great soccer coach. Not for us. We got to move on because we want to compete. I love the message that sends to the players.
Yeah. And I think we've seen, if we want to make comparables, this is just a Winnipeg example for people who follow the Jets, but it's a really hard position to be in where you have an exit of a head coach. We saw that with the Jets and Paul Maurice, and then Dave Lowry last year takes over from a team that he was an assistant coach in. But it just also shows that there is a different skill set and level of experience required from being an assistant coach underneath someone. It's not always an easy transition to go just because you understand the organization and the players and you live that with someone else at the helm to step into it.
Yeah.
And I think we've seen that lesson in sports. I could give you 15 examples.
Right.
But now we're seeing it here where, that was an easy answer when she exits and goes to Angel City. Okay, we've got someone in the organization. Let's now promote them into that. And so sometimes I feel like there is that disservice to some of our potential coaches because we throw them to the wolves in scenarios like that.
Right.
And hopefully he has an opportunity to go and be mentored or have an opportunity somewhere else to continue to pursue coaching and whatever else. But I do love that we're at a point in women's sports where there just is a standard and it is so high that we don't have the time to let you learn here.
Yeah, that's right.
Unfortunately.
You're at the show.
Yeah. You got to go somewhere else to build that resume and come back.
Yeah, absolutely. And we saw that a lot with the PHF actually.
Yes.
A lot of the movement we saw with the PHF, and there is still movement going on. And the one thing too with the PHF that I'm excited about this year is we're seeing big names move franchises.
I know, right?
That's going to be so fun to watch. Like Grant Mentes, we've talked a lot about going from Toronto to Buffalo.
Yeah.
Cannot wait.
Yeah, the Buffalo Beauties are the ones that have the fullest. Is fullest a word?
Fulliest?
Most full?
The
fullest or most full?
Most. The most full. That doesn't sound right either. I don't know. The
fullest. I'm not sure if fullest is grammatically correct, but they do have the most signings at 20 in the PHF right now.
Yeah, and freaking Boston just was like, whoop, 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 whoop.
Yeah, I guess we got to fill up here. Went from 0 to hero with now they're at 12.
Yeah. So with watching the signings going on in the Premier Hockey Federation and with the addition of Montreal, I'm very excited for this, as well as also seeing that a local Winnipeg 10D from Quinnipiac, Corinne Schroed, signs with Boston. And it's like, okay, this is super fun for people like us that never had the opportunity to sign. Well, quote unquote, like could have gone overseas and it was a huge deal. But now the last 3 signings I've seen is a U Sport athlete, a D1 athlete, and a D3 athlete.
Yeah. Women
are now going to university, signing essentially what university would be, which now I'm going to reference as their junior.
Yeah, that's right.
Right?
Yeah.
Their university careers is now their junior careers, because if you want to get after it, you can, because PHF is going after girls in U Sport, D1, and D3. And actually, the Swedish league, a lot of girls are coming over from the Swedish league as well. So it's like, thank God we got a spot now.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start calling university hockey junior hockey, because that is now what it is.
Yeah, it is the feeder system. That's one of the things that we've talked about on many episodes, right? Is like what becomes the feeder system, and we even threw out the ideas of where we had the PWHPA and the PHF, and does one of them become the feeder for this next elite?
Yeah,
we're not there yet. But yeah, you have to think of it that way. And it's very cool that these athletes are going to university with the knowledge that they, it's not a 4 or 5 year stint.
Yeah.
That there's a home for them after. And it also no longer requires them to get on a bird and go overseas.
Yeah, that's right. And if I was the PHF, I would have a person dedicated to going to every campus, every team, and being like, hey, this is just the beginning. Yeah. We are going to be watching. We are going to be recruiting. We've got scouts. This is part of the dance now. And to think of like somebody coming in, if I was a rookie at any U Sport D1 or any university, that would be very cool.
Totally.
To have a representative of the PHF go to schools and say, this is now the beginning of your path to the PHF, and our job is to try to sign as many of you to get our league as competitive as we possibly can make it to hopefully expand.
I'm still so interested to see what happens with the other swath of players.
Me too.
Because the PHF, we've talked about it, man. They are not slowing down.
No, they are
like foot to the floor.
100%. They are not. So a lot of the girls in Montreal, on the Montreal roster that I've noticed, are also have competed for a long time with a lot of the Hockey Canada girls.
Yep.
So they are going to be so good. The Montreal team is going to be so good next year. It's going to be fantastic to watch. But you're right. You kind of don't know where any of this is going. And with the amount of D1 athletes that they've been signing out of here, like to the PHF, it's like...
Yeah, they're picking... Yeah, I know.
They are recruiting.
They're picking off the elite of that caliber of player that are now in university athletics. And I don't know. We're going to say it for the 50th freaking time, but like we can't wait for news on what is up with the PWHPA.
I know.
What is up?
Somebody, please.
Somebody tell us.
Yeah, because we got to know.
Yeah, and you don't even have to tell us. Tell someone in the world that we can read.
Put it in the universe so we can find it somewhere.
We will listen or read whatever you put out there, and we'll just talk about it here on ours. It doesn't need to specifically be to us, but someone put news out there.
Because it's
August 14th today.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, I know. Like we're 2 weeks away from PHF training camp.
Yeah, well, I know.
Like it's
just wild that we've got nothing.
Yeah, so we will definitely be keeping a close eye on that, especially when I started seeing. That was like a personal feeling of satisfaction, because I've had zero to do with it, zero. But it still made me super excited to know that the girls that we just finished coaching, or the girls that we will coach in the future, whoever it is, now you can actually say to them, Okay. Yeah. And the conversation of okay. So it's like the amount of times I've heard in my life, like, girls have to be realistic. They need an education and they need to we need to know the realities of being a girl in sport.
Yeah.
Cut it out.
Yeah.
Stop it. It's over. If you are a parent that has said that, stop it.
Yeah.
Because that is what your daughter hears. That is what people hear. That is what everybody hears, is we all need to be realistic about what's going on. Instead of saying, you're trying to be signed to a U Sport team, a girl playing in U Sport just signed in the PHF.
Yeah.
You have a contract here of actual money to make an actual career out of doing something that you love. Mm-hmm. And that needs to be the shift in the conversation. And because the PHF is doing that, you can confidently say that now. Mm-hmm. Yep. So the whole because it's like, why is that only a conversation for girls? No one's ever come up to me and said, boys need to be realistic. They need to get an education. It's like, yes, they do. Everybody needs an education. Everybody needs to be educated in life. Yeah. Of course.
Yes.
It's just that shift in terminology and that shift in conversation has to happen.
Yeah, I agree. And it's slow. It's slow.
Come on.
I know. Well, that is one thing that we've learned, that there's, sometimes it does test our patience it is slow. But part of it too is and we could go back and challenge the likes of the PHF in working towards, like, the accessibility thing will answer some of that too, right? Because if you are a mom or a dad, if you aren't actively looking, like, it's not readily out there.
Yeah, fair.
Right?
Fair.
And so that's part of that too. And that's also part of why we sit here every week.
Yeah.
Is so that people can find and hear it. Because outside of that, you have to go looking. It won't find you, not easily. Yeah. And so, to the PHF and any of the rest of them, continue to do your due diligence, like you mentioned too. And maybe it's not even to each individual campus, but maybe it's the governing bodies, NCAA, U Sports.
Yeah.
Get in there, have a conversation. Maybe it's to the governing bodies of sports, right? Come to the hockey Saskatchewans or the hockey Albertas and make sure that they are aware.
Yeah, my job description there was a little bit intense.
Yeah.
You want to support the PHF?
Go to every single campus.
Be on the road for 200 days a year.
Yeah.
Be there every day.
Every day that there's an athlete playing a sport, be there.
Do it. And but that's how I feel. And I agree with you. To make it a bit more of a realistic job description, just go to the governing bodies and say, hey, like, it starts from the top down. The conversation has to change. Mm-hmm. Because I've talked to tons of kids that are like, well, I'm putting my education first because that needs to be, and it's like, no one is ever saying don't put your education first. Like, you have to, of course, it needs to be first, but it's like, but why isn't the conversation putting your education and sports in the same intensity category? So you're pursuing both at the same, you know what I mean?
I hear
you.
Yeah.
I wish I heard that conversation is where this is all looping back around to. I wish somebody would have said, hey, you're going to go for that pro contract? And I'd say, yep, 100%.
Well, then you wouldn't end up in my basement.
Chatting about it. Chatting about changing the conversation. Oh, my gosh.
I mean, you might have.
Well, yeah. Long time ago. Another huge thing. And so we saved this kind of for the end of the show because we talked about Sue Bird. Mm-hmm. We talked about all these things happening. And today was Sylvia Fowles'
last game.
Mm-hmm. Sylvia Fowles' last game because the Lynx couldn't figure it out. And that's just being blunt. They played Connecticut today. Connecticut just came out like a playoff team. They're ready to go. And they couldn't, if they pulled off a win and then Phoenix lost, they were in.
Yeah.
But they needed to win that game, and they didn't win that game today, which I will say once again was a doubleheader on TV. So I got a full day of basketball again, which is delightful to see. And all playoffs are on ESPN.
Oh, yeah. So it's just going to be Phil, the PVR.
Fill her up. Fill her up. Let's go. So that was pretty emotional when they pulled her out of the game for the last 6 minutes there, and it was pretty emotional. They pretty much stopped the whole game and let her hug everybody and standing ovation, even though they were in Connecticut. And it was a huge, huge, huge deal. Lots of tears.
There's just a lot of respect, eh? Like,
totally.
That's been the coolest part of their farewell tours. Is it doesn't matter if they're at home or not.
Yeah.
A lot of respect for the time and effort and energy that they put in to make sure that the WNBA got to where it is.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. And both games sold out.
Very cool.
Yeah. Both
very, very,
the
very
Lynx
cool.
Sun game as well as the Seattle Vegas game after, both sold out.
Love it.
Huge games.
Love
It's
it.
so awesome. And then some other big things to mention what's going on in the WNBA right now as well is Diana Taurasi.
Yowzer, oucher.
Out.
Yeah, with that boo-boo.
Yeah. Stupid sprain. So that's a big, man, has the Phoenix Mercury been going through a year.
Yeah. Was hers a quad? I thought it was a quad. That sucks. Those
Quad.
suck.
Worst. Well,
Quad hammy, something
yeah.
like that.
Yeah. Something that she cannot partake any longer, which is a huge blow. Like, not only for like her play, but just her presence on the court. I feel like she brings this level of intensity, this level of like, let's not F around here.
Too.
Totally.
Yeah.
100%. So I think that that's a big thing. And then like, talk about a first season with a team with Vanessa Nygaard. Like, holy moly. Like, what a year it's been. So to be honest, when we talk about the standard which is being set across all leagues, like, I wouldn't be surprised if she's not back.
I
And
agree.
that's not being whatever. I just think they didn't perform as well as they thought they were going to. There was obviously all the stuff going on with Brittany Griner in the background of like, that was essentially a shadow of the entire year and will continue to be. And then now Taurasi done, and Skylar Diggins-Smith out for the remainder of the season for personal reasons, and left it at that.
Yep.
Left her at that. So they've gone through quite a year, and whether it be reasons of the coach or just the team, sometimes the coach gets the shitty end of the stick in that deal, and they just need to shake it up. And the easiest thing is to change the coach.
Yeah. 100%. I think that will either go exactly to your point one of two ways, is that she's the easy shake because they have a lot of talent, or they look at exactly all the circumstances that you just rattled off and say, here's your last chance.
Here's another shake, because last year was
a rough
wild.
Was a rough one.
And they weren't performing well at all at the beginning of the year. Their defense, it was just...
Well, and they were so disjointed even to watch on the bench.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it was just, hard to watch at some point.
Yeah, it just didn't fit. And then Diamond DeShields being there, and which... Fact about Diamond DeShields. So I watched a docuseries on her specifically, and this woman is absolutely incredible. She had, I don't want to speak specifically on what was wrong with her, but her illness. She taught herself to walk again less than 2 years ago.
Oh, right. Where was the docuseries?
It was on ESPN.
Okay, well,
Diamond DeShields, and if you look her up, it's a fascinating story.
I will look it up,
because she came back. It was near death. Like,
really?
It was huge. Yeah. And so she essentially has retaught herself how to walk.
Wow.
And was in the league.
Look at that. You can watch it on YouTube if you want to.
Oh, can you?
The comeback outside the lines.
Okay, yeah. So Diamond to Shield, the comeback outside the lines. Take a look at it. It's definitely worth the watch, even if you're not a big fan of the WNBA. What this woman has done to get herself back on the court will blow your mind. That's just what I do on a random Sunday.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
What docuseries can I watch? I heard of another one. Somebody came up to me and asked me if I saw the Serena Williams docuseries. And I said, well, like King Richard, like the movie? And they're like, no, like the actual docuseries of how she went through being who she is and having a kid and how that not affected her training, but how people perceived her training had changed because she was breastfeeding. And so, and so I haven't watched that one, but I will be watching out for that.
No kidding. I will also watch. Very, very cool.
And so, yeah, that with her being a part of, Phoenix Mercury and stuff, because there was a big petition put out as to why she did not win an SB for Comeback of the Year.
Okay, look at you. Fun
facts.
Man.
Oh, man. And I'm a huge Diamond to Shields fan. I think she's just an absolute beauty. So check it out because she's a phenomenal human being.
Check it out.
So, yeah, they've had quite the year. Sylvia Fowles, her 15-year WNBA career comes to an end today, which is just crazy. It's crazy to think. And I think that from what I saw from today, she didn't, we'll see in the audio if anybody could hear that. My new watch chatting to me. Oh God. I didn't hear that. My watch is trying to solve my problems for me.
Addie's so super tech savvy, like super, super tech savvy. So
could you sense the sarcasm?
I'm going to tell a story. So we go to Edmonton. I get to Edmonton and I check in. Addie checked in the night before. No, a few hours before me.
Yeah.
And the first thing that she did when she got to Edmonton was find a grocery store.
I was like, what story are you going to tell? Damn it.
And bought the biggest bag of basmati rice. And so I sit down I throw my bag in and I'm like, wow, is there no restaurant in this hotel? She's like, what? I'm like, are we just eating rice the whole
rice
week?
for the week, baby?
What the hell did you buy that for? No, it's got a nice little slit along the top and her MacBook is inside of it because she had a little incident with coffee and it was on her laptop. And so she left it in there for the quote unquote Google diagnosed 48 hours. And then we pulled it out and we had to shake the grains of rice from the innards of Addie's laptop and seek the Apple store within the West Edmonton Mall for them to confirm my diagnosis of this thing is pooched.
You can't. I went on Google on my phone, obviously, because my computer was. It was like such a token, like the coffee cup like spilt in slow motion, and I watched it seep into all the keys, and I'm like, no, it still can work. It's like obviously it's done. What do? You put it in rice.
The best part is we go to the Apple store, and the guy takes our computer into the back. And he comes back and without Addie having to tell him, he's like, coffee. She's like, yeah. He's like, yeah, it's toast.
She gone.
So the very tech savvy Addie bought a new MacBook and,
yes.
Which came along with the ability to, with a gift card, buy an Apple Watch. That is what you just heard. Very long-winded Siri telling you to learn how to use your Apple Watch.
Figure it out. Yeah. Stop touching all the buttons.
Oh my.
Yeah, I do feel way more tech savvy with all my things, but let's get real. I am most certainly not. And that's what they said to do. Put it in rice. But that was so funny because it's true. You walked in, you're like, eating rice for the week? And I'm like, no, I'm just fixing my technologies.
just my MacBook in there.
Isn't that how you fix technology?
And I drove and Addie flew and I even had to say, so would you like me to bring this home for you?
What are we doing with the 15-pound bag of rice? Jesus. Well, thank you so much for bringing that up. That's super great.
Story time.
Yeah, I love my new computer, and my watch just likes to chat with me.
I heard it.
Chat.
Yeah, I heard it.
Which...
How do you
segue into Serena Williams from that?
She's far better at tennis than you are at technology.
Isn't she married to a tech giant?
I don't know.
For transition purposes, can she be married to somebody?
If he's a technology? Tech giant, I bet he doesn't put his MacBook in a bag of rice.
Oh my God.
You know what? You should ask
Serena Williams retired.
You should ask your watch who Serena Williams is married to.
That's right. Hey, Siri. I can't wait.
Alexis Ohanian. Ohanian.
Oh, he I'm pretty sure developed Reddit.
There you go.
All right.
Who is he?
Am I close? We're not going to go through that whole thing because the National Bank Open in Toronto just finished up.
Yeah, and the swan song for Serena Williams. I thought that was really cool that she announced her retirement so that the fans of Toronto, the fans of Canada, had the knowledge and wherewithal to know that that was the last time that they were going to get to see her play.
13,000 tickets sold in like 6 minutes.
Yeah, not shocked by that.
No chance. I would have been one of them.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
Yeah, totally. Saw that Liz Knox and company got to go and watch that game. Part of the Unmatched
jealous.
Billie Jean King. Yeah, super cool.
So jealous that'll be a memory you have for your lifetime.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like that'll be a memory you have for forever. And you're right. I think it was super classy of her to not just like come in and out of town and then announce your retirement a month later, to be like, this will be the last time I'm playing here. So if you do want to come play or see me play,
come on out.
And then it was like, cha-ching.
Yeah.
Everybody needs to have a ticket immediately, which obviously.
Yeah.
Obviously. And her speech at the end was super genuine, you know, like I just feel like my life is going in a different direction, as, you know, think about how much she has dedicated to that sport. Like we've been talking about Sue Bird and Sylvia Fowles and all these incredible women that have just grinded. She is different in the way of it's an individual.
Yeah.
They've been a part of growing the WNBA and been a part of that whole team atmosphere. Women's tennis has been Serena Williams.
Yeah, I think there's that whole foundation that started it all. But if you haven't, we talked about the movie King Richard a lot of episodes ago.
Yeah.
It is worth you watching to see the story of Serena and Venus Williams and their dad and what went into, as a collective family, the effort that was involved to allow those two women to pursue what they are, and the genuine belief from a dad that if they invested the time and energy and if they wanted it bad enough, they could be whatever they wanted.
And the one part when I was watching the movie, it just makes you cry, is like, you're not going to change tennis. You're going to change the world.
Yeah.
Like you will change the world. And you can't say that she hasn't done that.
I agree.
Right. And so when I look at this and then I see that like she has a daughter and then her daughter's going to grow up in this incredible world of like, you know, looking back at what your mom has been able to accomplish because she was pursuing life to the highest level she possibly could consistently. Like that's incredible. Absolutely incredible. Yeah, where women, because there's the whole generation that grew up with Serena and competing against her, but now we see like Fernandez, Coco Gauff, Raducanu, and Bianca Andreescu, like all these women that are like able to attack it to the absolute fullest because of what like that family did.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it is. It is. That's the best word for it. And she hopefully, continues to feel the love here as she stretches out to the end of her career. Because, tennis is, like, when you think back, especially for people you and I's age, tennis is Serena Williams.
Oh, absolutely. I remember I first started to get into lifting, and it was kind of around the time where girls were starting to, be okay with it, be okay with having muscle and stuff. And there was a picture of Serena Williams, and she was cheering after she got a point, and her bicep muscle, and it just made it okay.
Yeah. Yeah, isn't
one
that
image,
cool?
it just made everything okay when they're like, get in the gym and do all this stuff. And like, you're just learning about that kind of stuff. And then there was this one image of this one woman who had so much muscle.
Yeah.
And she was a badass.
Yeah.
And it made everything okay.
Yeah, I love that.
I'll never forget that. I was like, what a cool image. What a cool image.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And then, so obviously National Bank Open, she didn't end up at the final. Simona Halep.
Yeah.
Taking it. Third time she's won in Canada. First time in Toronto, 2 times in Montreal.
Very cool.
Yeah. So I thought that was that's super cool. And that Haddad, who she beat in the final, had to beat number 1 ranked Swiatek to get there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, holy man. Think about how long she went without losing, and she was beat, and then Halep beat the woman who beat her.
Yeah.
Come on.
I always wonder though, like, that's when it's kind of like Holly Naughton beating number 1 ranked to get into the final of the Commonwealth Games. And it's like, that was the game.
Yeah, that was the game. That's right.
You've like exerted not everything you have, but that's hard to then rebound back from that huge effort and huge win to pull it out again. And it's hard to do. Yeah,
totally. So that's a huge match. And then they also did, with it talking about Serena, with it being her last game in Canada, she's now off to Cincinnati, and where she's going to play Emma Raducanu. So now everyone's all talking to Emma Raducanu about how you're going to prep for this giant that's coming through town. But the last thing I wanted to touch on with the National Bank Open was they did this whole segment on Fernandez.
Yeah.
Do you know why Leila Annie Fernandez, is that her middle name, or is her first name Leila Annie?
I would assume it was her middle name, but...
Because I'm like, is there a reason why it's Leila Annie Fernandez everywhere? Everybody uses all 3 names all the time. Because in my notes, I have Leila Annie Fernandez, because it's like, but is that like... I've just never seen an athlete use her middle name all the time.
But we haven't seen that up until now, really. Because like, before we've talked about it, and you haven't asked.
With Leila Annie Fernandez? Yeah. It's everywhere. Leila Annie Fernandez.
I think that's her middle name. Leila Annie Fernandez, yeah.
So overall of it, maybe it's just like
I'm just going to start to call you Addison Leanne Miles.
That's right. Full tilty the whole way through.
Yeah, so now everybody knows.
That's right. Oh my God. You would.
It's okay. I can say mine if it makes you feel better.
Leave it a mystery. We should. What do you think, Alicia Blank Cowson? What do you think her middle name is? Let's go.
Let's get some guesses. What do people think my middle name is?
I want to see what comes in. I love that.
It is not as complicated as you think.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's a random thought. I just was like, Leila Annie Fernandez, it's everywhere. But they did this whole segment on her, and we talked about this a lot when it was her and Emma Raducanu in the final, how their lives were going to change. And she openly admitted, she's like, I needed my dad to ground me again because I was out there. And then she got injured, and that was the big thing, coming back off this injury and playing. She made it through to the 3rd round and was doing fantastic. But they did this whole segment on her, like, what's life been like? And she's like, I'm going to be real with you. I needed to be grounded again because my life spiraled after that match. And it's like, How have we not learned this yet?
That is a good question though, because if you look at tennis, like it has gobbled some people up, and it's hard. We've talked about, because it's an individual sport. Like we've seen Bianca Andreescu, like we the list goes on. Naomi Osaka, like we've seen women. Simone Biles, if you want to go outside of that, like it.
Right.
These individual athletes, because they don't have a shield of a team, and they don't have yes, they have a team around them. No, that's not what I'm saying, but it's them. And these individual sports tend to be, they gobble you up, and I think very good for her to recognize at a young age that she needed dad to ground her, and that was a lot.
Yeah, Papa Bear stepped in. And it was
dads.
Yeah, you do. And because I think, like, when I was reading after that thing too of Emma Raducanu, because I think that she's a phenomenal tennis player. You know, they said like the paparazzi following her around the UK is representative of like Princess Diana. Like people were losing it following her around constantly and stuff. And I'm like, whoa, that's a lot. And I don't know if that's true or not, because obviously we're over here and they're over there, and media is what media is. But that is what I read, and it's like, that's so crazy.
If that is the comparison, because that, we don't need to go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
But whoa,
that's a big one. So lots of, like, and we've said this before, what feels like a lot of transition in the women's sports world. To kind of loop today back around into what we were talking about at the beginning of the episode, there is going to be a new wave of women's sports coming in the next couple of years. We talked about it with tennis, with soccer, with hockey. And it's so exciting to have everybody here to go through this whole journey with us and just stick with us through this whole thing.
Yeah, well, we kind of, I know we're going to wrap up so shortly, but we kind of did talk about, let's talk about LPGA for a couple of minutes before we close out, because that's a good example of Maya Stark winning, and that punches her ticket to the LPGA, so she doesn't have to do any more of these, play-ins. Was down 2 going into the final round, and had a course record 10 under. It was her best round, 10 under 63, to win by 5 strokes, 20 under, and was absolutely lights out. 22 years old, and so we're just at a point where we are seeing the stage has been set by so many amazing athletes, and now we're seeing that be super fruitful for lots of young ones.
Well, yeah, and how amazing is that to punch your ticket officially to the LPGA? Like, those are those feelings that you love for these young amateur athletes to feel and to know what they're working towards. She knew exactly what she was doing. She knew exactly that she had to do well in this tournament to be a pro. And she did it. And congrats to her, because she crushed. She crushed. 20 under.
I know.
It's ridiculous.
Did you see, if you haven't seen, you should look on Instagram for her swing and how she's, it's like, when you, in baseball, that's my reference is baseball. When you you go to swing and then you let the bat go and then you catch it again and finish your swing. But she, in her golf swing, swings through the ball, the club comes behind her head, and somehow she lets it go and then catches it here, like super freaking casual.
Well, that's what we're going to go do right now. That's what we're going to go watch. We're just going
to go practice our I thought you were going to say, I was like, yeah, that'll be good. We'll just both end up with coffees in the backyard.
Your clubs are out back, right? We'll just head out there.
Mine are in my truck.
Awesome. Yeah, no, congrats to her. That's a super good point. So with all said and done, Cowie, final words. Big thank you to everyone for being here. Like Addie said off the top, we know that sometimes you might not understand all the things that we're talking about, but we appreciate your commitment to coming back every week and continuing to learn alongside of us. If we are striking a chord with you and you have feedback, you can reach out to us on Instagram at Beauty Sports Talk, TikTok at Beauty Sports Talk, Twitter at _Beauty Sports. You can reach us by voicemail at speakpipe.com/beautysports. Again, rates and reviews help the pod, so we appreciate you so much. I appreciate you. Addie Miles, we'll see you next week. Thank you all, and we will see you next week.